Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this meeting of Denmead Parish Council Amenities Committee meeting. It's 7:30 p.m. We're at the Old School, School Lane in Denmead on the 16th of April 2025. The first item on the agenda is apologies, and we've received apologies this evening from Councillors Jones and Councillor Stallard. The second item on the agenda this evening is declarations of interest. Arising from this agenda, members and officers are invited to declare any relevant interests. Notwithstanding this item, members may subsequently declare an interest at any point during the meeting. Do we have any declarations of interest this evening? No, thank you. I will also apologise for coughing. I was on a flight and I think I've caught something on the flight. Item 3 is minutes of the previous meeting. To receive and confirm the accuracy of the minutes of the meeting held on the 5th of March 2025. These have been circulated to everybody. Is everybody agreed that they are a true record of the meeting? Thank you very much. I will duly sign. Thank you very much, Liz. Item 4 excuse me, is the public participation section. The meeting will, if required, recess for no more than 15 minutes for questions and comments from members of the public on matters appertaining to this committee. So this is your opportunity to address council on any matters that you wish to bring to our attention. Does anybody wish to address committee? Thank you. If you could state your name for the clerk.
Tracy Howard.
Thank you.
It is regarding our trees. Trees in If I read, do you want me to read this out?
If you don't mind.
We moved to the house in Denmead in 2020. We almost pulled out of the sale because of the trees, but we were given the utmost insurance from both the vendor and Pearson's that the trees were regularly maintained by Denmead Council's grantee. The trees were a reasonable height at this time, so we were encouraged to continue with the purchase. Excuse me. Since moving to the property, there has been no maintenance by the grounds team. Just before his retirement, I approached the council and with regard to the maintenance, and Phil kindly came round and said, yes, they were definitely due and would be added to the works. Quite some time later, I approached the council with regard to the maintenance. I was told we would be added to the works. Unfortunately, nothing happened, so we asked the tree company to reduce the overhang. We paid over £1,000 for this work to be carried out. It was necessary because of rats and cherries, which was detailed in the email to the council. In spring 24, the team came and reduced the trees behind our next door neighbour's house, and they told him they would be back tomorrow to do this. Unfortunately, weather changed for the worse, then nesting season was upon us. After nesting season, we waited for nothing to happen. When we asked the council in September when work was to be carried out, we were told the trees were on the list of works. When we chased again early 2025, we were assured it would be done. One of the team asked my partner to show him the trees, and he looked at them and said they would be back within a week. After 4 weeks or so, we approached the council again, and we were told, as they would come in 2023, not by the grounds team, I will add, but this was at our cost, they would not require pruning until 2026. We only had the overhang cut, so they hadn't been pruned. We feel we're being treated unfairly by the grounds team. I hope you will understand we are losing faith in this team ever maintaining these trees. We feel we have to pay yet again for the work. We feel that they should be carrying on. We have been reassured that if we pay to have the overhang cut back again, this will not affect maintenance that the team should be doing. If that is the case, then why has it stopped them this time? They have not touched the trees in at least 5 years. And I've got a picture of this and that's the oak tree, and these trees here used to be like just over half the size of the oak trees, so they've been growing. Not this one here, but these little thin ones, they are so thin that they actually lean over our garden now. Now they're starting to get the trees and buds on them. Just wanted to bring it to the attention.
Okay, thank you very much. I do know that we do have a programme of tree maintenance. We have a tree survey done, and the grounds team do have to prioritise any work that is required due to health and safety reasons. So if it's general maintenance, that is done after all of the health and safety stuff is done. And our tree survey actually identified quite a lot of ash dieback, which is a health and safety risk. So I know the team have been prioritising that. And again, of course, we're now back into nesting season again. Sam is here. Sam is the manager of our grounds team. He's head groundsman. So I'm sure Sam has taken note, and we will note it in the minutes. So, sorry, Gary.
My concern is, I understand that with prioritise health and safety, but if the residents have been told that we were back in 4 weeks, then we should go back, or we should not tell them we're going back, not tell them we're going to do something and don't do it. So if we don't do it, that's one thing, but telling someone that you're going to do something and not do it, that's what it is. So I'm not happy about that. And twice, at least for a time, saying that. So we ask that this be looked at again, and go around there, look at it, and give an honest judgment.
Yeah,
If we're going to do something, we're going to do something. We're
an
not.
example is that it was done the year before. I think you can see where they've been pruned. Is that one?
No, honestly, it's not.
Which one is that one?
No, that's not the one. It's this one. These little trees, skinny trees here, they all used to be about this size. And now they're just growing to a big wall. And this one was cut before we moved in. And we had the oak cut. We had the oak produced.
So these ones there.
Yeah, this one and this one here. You can see that's just one stem. And that is so flimsy, it hangs over.
What Councillor West has just suggested that
Yes.
Sam pops round, and I'm happy to come with you, Sam,
Yeah.
so that we can take a look. And but I mean, I should also point out that we don't just do cosmetic work.
No.
The tree needs to have work done to it, because obviously otherwise, if it's just cosmetic, then that's an expense to the parish. So if the tree requires work, then it will be done as per the schedule. But if it's purely cosmetic, then we wouldn't undertake that.
I don't understand why we've been told so.
No, absolutely. So we'll be in contact with you. Do we have your number?
I put my email address on it.
Perfect. In which case we'll be in contact and make an appointment to come round and see you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
You don't have to stay.
You don't study.
You're more than welcome to stay, but you don't have to.
I have a question, please.
Of course. If you'd like to state your name for the
Jason
part.
Grouse. I live in Smithfield. A quick question. So it's regarding tree maintenance as well. I didn't know whether the maintenance of the trees at Smithy and Solid Road is an agenda item for this meeting or not, or whether I should raise the question now. Do you know, is there...
It depends which trees in this. I think we have got the Smithy on the agenda this evening. We do. Trees at the Smithy, to consider a request by a resident that the trees on DPC's land have a crown lift to stop them from obstructing the shared driveway when in
So
Leeton
we
Summit.
get to that point and I've discussed it. A neighbour asked me to attend this meeting on her behalf because she can meet it.
Okay.
So
If you have something that you wish committee to know on your neighbour's behalf, then now is the opportunity.
okay, all right. So I got an email from my neighbour. It was an email she exchanged with Francis Penfold Cook, who's a committees clerk at the Parish Council. And the response she received was that the quote that was placed out to the contractor to trim the trees, when it was received back by the Parish Council, it didn't contain details of the height that the contractors would cut the trees to. The perplexing thing with that is if the council knew what height trees should be at, why wasn't it requested the contractor in the first instance? So that's the first part of the question. The second part is, has a subsequent request been played back to the contractor to ask them what height they're going to cut them to, or can they cut them to a certain height? And has there been a response to that? Because at the moment, we've been asking the council to cut these trees for probably 2.5 years now, and it's like a never-ending cycle. As you said, we're in nesting season again now, and now it appears that we've got another delay through an omission in requirements of how the tree should be cut.
Okay. So are these the Leyland cypress, the Leylandii and the Lawson cypress tree?
I'm not a tree expert. But it is, those the trees that you refer to are ripping up part of the drive with their roots as well, so those would be the same ones.
Okay. So are these the trees that are on the shared driveway that are causing a problem with the vehicles?
No.
Right. So in that case, it's 11.5 on the agenda. I'm just clarifying for the. So. Okay. So again, I think that's one that we will discuss it later on the agenda. Sorry, Councillor Andrew.
I think to the Lot 4 chair. Gentleman mentioned ground lip.
And that's the one that says that the weight of the leaves are pulling the branches down and likely to be hit by vehicles on the shared driveway. And the gentleman's just said that's not the case, which is why I thought it was 11.5.
Okay, so this is at the city. So the trees are on the side of the fence, which is owned by council, Winchester, and the trees are too tall, so they can fall on the property. One fell on my property a few years ago, and also the tree roots are going underneath the drive and now ripping up bricks. The bricks are now scattered all over the driveway. And that's what we've been talking to council about for 2.5 years now, plus.
Okay.
So yeah, and as I said, the latest email exchange with my neighbour was quite confusing me about how a simple detail about what height the tree should be cut to was omitted from the requests from the contractor.
Okay, so I wasn't aware that there was a query over the height that those trees would be cut to. The ones that I was querying the height were the ones that were on Lowland Road.
Lowlands Road. So
Yeah.
it's like, as you go to Lowlands Road.
Yeah, correct.
That's
So
all right.
correct. Yeah. So it is. So yeah. So that is basically where my address, my neighbour's address is the Smithy. Lowland, the Smithy wraps around Lowland Road. Yeah. So those are the ones that we're referring to.
So are we talking about the same trees?
On the main road.
Correct. Yes.
The fence goes through
Correct.
that, yeah.
Yes.
So as you go out of Lowlands, on the right or the left? Because the left
It's
is
the
the
shared
shared drive.
it's on the left.
That's the shared driving, the block paving.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, so it is that one.
Right. Okay. Now I know which trees we're talking about. So we will be discussing that later on the agenda, and we do have the fact that they are high water demand trees, and that committee may consider removing those trees, or we may just consider pruning significantly. But the issue with the quote that came in was the fact that they were talking about taking the trees down by half. And if you look along Southwark Road, the whole of Southwark Road is tree lined, and a lot of the trees down there are TPO'd, and they're significant trees. So if you then take a small section and cut those trees in half, the road, the whole look on the street scene is changed significantly. So that was the concern with cutting those trees in half, as opposed to pruning them to a good point, so they're well pruned, but not literally cutting them in half. So that was why we queried it last time. So
Yeah, I mean, the email that I've received from neighbours says the committee was provided with quotes for the pruning of the trees on Southwark Road. Unfortunately, the committee felt that the quote did not provide sufficient information as to the proposed height of the trees following the works being carried out. The committees asked that the tree surgeon provide more information on this so that the quote can be considered at the next communities meeting.
yeah, so
That's that on that communities meeting is this one. So
It
that's
is.
presumably what we're discussing. Didn't say anything about the advice saying the cut in half and it was rejected. It was just saying the quote that they got back, usually back, was omitting information.
yeah, so this the quote says that trees will be individually reduced to various heights suitable for each tree.
Right.
So what they had suggested previously was that they were all pruned to a height which would look very stark if they were all pruned. If you look along Ashling Park, the trees have all been pruned to a certain height, and it's okay because they are in isolation. There aren't any other trees around, so they're in their own context. But they're now saying that they will reduce them to various heights appropriate for each of the relevant trees.
Okay, that's progress. So, were they then able to carry out that work? It will be outside of the nesting season unless they can be absolutely certain that there are no nests within those trees. Otherwise, we're breaking the law. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, when are they going to visit them to see whether or not they can perform the work that they think?
That would be for Sam to negotiate with the company. Councillor Brown.
It would be after we have a discussion on whether we accept it.
Exactly that, yeah.
So I'll wait till we get to that point in the meeting then, or are we able to discuss that now?
No, we'll wait until we get to that point in the meeting.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm Rachel Kirky, I'm the Zenko at Denby Preschool. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have about the fence, quickly,
Okay.
if you have any questions.
Okay. Thank you. I think we'll discuss that when we get to that. Thank you.
I'm Sheila Elliott and I live at number 23 Great Mead. And I'll just read out my email I sent to the council.
Yeah.
So I'd like to explain why my ex-husband erected a small piece of fence next to my side access. It was put there to stop people who walk along the alleyway from coming through the bushes and gaining access to my garden. On one occasion, my rotary washing line was stolen. And on another occasion, I woke up in the middle of the night to find someone breaking in through my patio doors. When I put the light on, he ran off. And when I followed him, I saw him go through the bushes, which is coming out of my side gate, through the bushes, and up the alleyway to the main road. I'm sorry that my ex-husband put this small piece of wood in with a little bit like that goes into the bushes. It's purely to stop people from coming along the side of my fence, at the back of the bushes, and going straight into my side access. And I'm willing to take it down if you want me to, but if it does come down, can the council put something there to stop people from literally coming up the alleyway, through the bushes and at the side, and gaining access to my house? And I live alone, and knowing that I've got a little bit of safety where they can't come in, has made me feel a bit safer.
Of course.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, not at all.
It really is scary. You know, people and dogs can come through the bushes and just gain access to my side and into my house. Another thing I would say that I've lived there for over 30 years and I've looked after those bushes that go along the alleyway. And there's a big stretch of bushes, and Sam will probably know the ones I'm talking about. You maintain the pathway ones, but over 30 years I've maintained the bushes on my side, and I've mown the lawn for over 30 years, because I want it to look nice. Get rid of all the bramble that comes through it, it's a nightmare. But I think you've had some contractors a few years ago, that did the alleyway, and they just threw all the debris in the bushes, killing it off and making great gaps. And right by my side access, there's a big hole where it's been killed off. And when it's winter, all the leaves drop, and anybody can just come through. It's really, really scary. I've tried planting bushes there myself, but they just don't grow because it's so dark. They just die off. But I just wanted to say that, you know, if you want me to take that little bit of fence down, I will. If somebody can help me.
Of course, of course.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else on the agenda that anybody else wishes to discuss? Councillor Andrew?
Sorry, Chair, just about that item. I'm confused as to why there's no fence there. Why there's just a hedge that people can walk through. I would have expected there to be a fence down the side of your property.
There is my fence,
Yeah.
yeah, and then at the end of it, the edge, I've got a gate.
Yeah.
Bushes go along your bit of land and to the side of my fence. And that's where people are gaining access. It's just open, especially during the winter time. The twigs coming up, you know, and then they're just starting to come into leaf now. So I'm hoping it will cover that. But all my ex-husband did was put a little bit of wood fencing at the end, like a barrier, to stop them from coming along the pathway, especially at night time.
I'm not arguing that, I'm just trying to understand the physical position as to why there is a fence there up to your gate.
There is.
Okay, I'm misunderstanding that.
Yeah, there is. They can get through the bushes, and I can't see it because it's the side of my property, and just gain access through the gate.
I think the fence stops halfway along the house, the brick wall of the house, and then the gate's at the very front. So it's only bushes between.
Okay, so I couldn't see why there wasn't a
I
fence
actually
there.
put fence along to the actual end of my house. So there is fence there, but they can still come through at the end and gain access.
Okay, Councillor Brown?
We looked at this before, Chair, over the posts that were put on the piece of ground.
We did.
This was a discussion we had. The gate should actually be halfway down the garage. It's the gate shouldn't be at the front of the garage. That's not where the gate parish council land goes. Apart from the footpath, parish council land goes halfway down the garage. I think it was. From memory, we had a plan before at the last meeting, and that's why it was brought up, because we were talking about this piece of land. Because I think you had applied for having some slabs put in front of the ones that are already there, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
because in the future I've got a medical condition, I'll probably have to have one of those mobility scooters
Yeah.
to get down there.
But that's where this came about from, because when you actually look at the land registry plan, the gate for the property should actually be further back, which would probably have met originally to the side fence, and they wouldn't be able to get through the hedge.
They did. That's when I had the washing line stolen and 250 bricks, because we've had our windows lowered. We had 250 bricks left over, and as you know, Great Mead, the actual bricks are very hard to come by, you can't get them. And I had them stacked up, and during the night, somebody was slowly taking my bricks away, because they wanted them. So they were actually coming through those bushes. It's open.
Councillor Brown?
So if you look at your garage, your gate is on the right hand side of your garage, and you have a piece of fence that comes forward and goes left. Goes right. Behind that piece of fence, is there no other fence that runs down the side of your garden? Or are
Fence
they
goes along
come?
the path.
Sorry, I'll show you. This is the picture we've had sent in, is this picture.
That's it.
Yeah. So, is there a fence that runs down
No,
that side of it?
No, it's just this bit here
So
to
on,
stop people from coming in, and they can't see the side access gate. It's been there for a long time.
on Google Earth, it shows that there is a fence that runs along the side of your garden and then becomes a hedge at a point.
Can I check? Here, this is the fence. It goes along that path. Yes.
So it follows along your path.
Yeah, but there's nothing at the back of this. That can easily be taken down if you want to. Then it opens that up.
Yeah,
I've got a
you're
fence.
saying it's so people come through the hedge and then go through your gate,
Yes,
and your gate's not secured in any way.
it's got a bolt, which can be easy accessed. Over like that. It's only a low gate.
It's 1.8 metre gate, I would say.
They have done it.
I don't mean the ideal thing. If someone can open a bolt that you can reach over a gate,
Yeah.
then it needs either a lower bolt on it that they can't reach or a padlock on it, which would be a reasonable thing. But there is, I was just trying to get to basically the front piece. If everyone's got their emails up, the front piece of the fence on this side is just a piece of fence on the closing that off. There is a fence that runs along the side of the garden, is what we're saying, isn't it? But having said that, the land registry plan that we were shown shows that that gate should actually be halfway back down the garage.
Okay. Is there anything else on the agenda that anybody wishes to speak to us about from the public session? Okay, in which case I'll close the public session, and I'm just looking. Okay, so with members' permission, we will deal with the items that have been raised in the public session first. So I suggest that we deal with items 11.4, item 9 and then item 10.1. Are we all agreed?
Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll start with 11.4, which is trees at the smithy. To consider a request by a resident that the trees on DPC's land have a crown lift to stop them from obstructing the shared driveway when in leaf in summer. So Sam has provided some input on this one for us, saying that at the moment the trees are not causing a problem because obviously it's very early in spring, they're just budding. But when they are in leaf, they will be much heavier and the weight of the leaves brings the trees down and they're so much so that they're likely to touch cars. So we normally allow crown lifts where they're causing an issue. So I would propose that we advise that we will allow a crown lift. Does somebody want to suggest a height? 3 metres maybe? Sam, do we know what the crown height is at the moment?
No.
Okay.
Can we leave it to Sam to go along with you and then decide on the crown lift height?
Okay, Councillor Brown?
I would go with your 3 metres because you would get a normal car would go over it, under it quite easily, and a van would get under it as well.
Is it normally 4 metres over a highway
It's
because
a
of
highway,
buses
this
and
isn't-
things like that?
Effectively, this isn't a highway.
No, absolutely. I'm just saying for lorries and buses, but obviously this is a domestic driveway. Councillor Ranger?
I would suggest, in terms of Councillor Berry's comment, that perhaps a site survey, either with Sam and yourself or TPO officer or tree officer, accordingly, whether it's 3 metres or 4 metres. What we don't want to do is to be in the same situation 1 year or 2 years out. So we've got to do it right, and we've got to do it properly. Whether that requires more haste, less speed, and a site survey, then fair play would be my own recommendation.
Councillor Brown.
The issue we're going to have at the moment, if we go look at the moment, because they're not in full leaf,
Sure.
they'll be up out the way
It's
anyway.
at the moment, sorry.
Yeah. It wouldn't go to a tree officer because there are trees and they're not TPO'd. So it wouldn't go that way unless we employed someone to look at them, which is an expense we never normally do.
So Winchester have tree officers for their TPO.
Yeah.
So we have a proposal from Councillor Berry that Sam and myself go later on in the season and do an assessment, and we can then make a judgment call and bring that back to council, whether it's 3 or 4 metres. Councillor Andrioli, then Councillor West.
I thought you were about to call a vote.
Oh, sorry, Councillor West.
So you need to bring it back. If we decide we're going to crown it, if you decide for a 4 metres, I'm happy to go with that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Brown.
That's what I was just about to say.
Okay, so council's delegating authority to Sam and myself to decide on the amount of the crown lift later on in the season when it's further in leaf and we can make a judgment call. Can I have a show of hands on that one, please? Thank you. So we'll now move on to 11.5, which is to consider whether the 2 trees at the smithy should be removed. So it would appear that the 2 of the trees in the group of trees outside 5 to 7 the smithy. Sir, can I just confirm with you that it's 5 to 7 the smithy?
No, that's not me. On it, 31 to
Right, so it's
28.
different
The
trees.
chap was one before. This one is the one
Yeah,
that
the
land
I
line.
think affects my neighbour a bit more rather than me. So I think that's the general item she bought, but that's set to cutting as well.
Right. So we don't have cutting those height-wise on the agenda tonight. We only have a crown lift, and then we have 2 trees to be removed at the smithy.
I'm not technical, so crown lift is about...
That's taking the height up from underneath. Yes.
Yeah, I see where she's coming from, I think, because my drive is pretty clear, but hers, I think, does get overhanging branches, and she's got a 4x4. I think they probably sort of scratch her car as she goes through.
Okay.
Probably another neighbour. So it's not, probably that's 2 of the houses, but yeah, the other major concerns I've just said is the overall height of the trees is really
Right.
high now.
There's Robbie your neighbour.
So, in which case, that is on the agenda, but it's 11.3. So it's on as trees on Southwark Road, not trees in the smithy.
Right, okay. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
where we've, okay, so, okay, so we are advised, so we're now doing 11.3, everybody. We have been advised by our insurance company against removing those trees. But we do need to prune those trees according to our insurance company. So as I mentioned earlier, I think let me just double check that that quote that I looked at was the relevant quote. It was that the trees will be individually reduced to various heights suitable for each tree. So obviously different trees have different pruning requirements. Some can take a hard prune, some will die if you hard prune them. And so the quote this time, rather than just to do a blanket cut, is to individually reduce trees to various heights suitable for each tree. So that's what we're being asked to consider. Our committee happy that Sam and I meet on site with the tree surgeon and agree the heights for each tree? Councillor Brown?
I would second that proposal.
Can I have a show of hands then, please? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. So we will meet on site with the tree surgeons, and I hope to ascertain a time scale as well at that point, whether or not they believe there could be nests in those trees.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you. And when might you meet the insurer as well, so we get sort of an indication of time?
We don't meet with the insurers. We will send them the results of our conversations and our discussion with the tree surgeons, so that the insurance company is aware of what we're doing.
So when would you meet the tree surgeon on site?
That depends on their schedule and Sam's schedule.
Is it likely to be in the next couple of months, weeks? When?
I would think in the next couple of months. I can't promise weeks, but
Yeah, super. Yeah.
okay. So that is 11.3. We've done 11.4. So we'll now move on to item 9 on the agenda. So the item 9 on the agenda is Heathfield, permanent fencing at Heathfield, to consider the additional information received from Denby Preschool regarding the proposed erection of a permanent fence, to consider and determine action. So we have received the further information from the preschool. Thank you very much for that. We required the proposed location of the fencing, and the response is they would propose locating the fencing around the area which they currently rent from the parish council. It's actually not rented, it's hired. We don't have a rental agreement with you, it's a hire agreement. See the attached annotation on the parish map, so we can see that. They are happy to negotiate on that, of course. We inquired about the height of the proposed fencing. The height of the current fence that we use is just over 1 metre, and that would be sufficient, but please see below. And that is a picture of the Ashland Park fence. The style of the proposed fencing, a picture showing the proposed type of fencing would be great. We suggest that the style of the fencing would be the same or similar as that surrounding the play area in KGV playing field. Photo attached. The size and style of the gate that would be put in the fence for access when the area is not in use by the preschool. Again, we would suggest that the gate be similar to that as in the fence surrounding the play area in KGV playing field. Photo attached. We would want to secure the gate whilst the preschool is in session, but outside of that time it can be left unlocked to facilitate general access. So that is to discuss and determine. Thoughts, views. Councillor Ranger.
I've seen the pictures where you can't see it at the moment, you don't have a thing, but I saw the files before we turned out and seen. Thank you, I see that. And I think it makes perfect sense, and I think it's something that we should seriously consider and adopt.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
I'm of the other mind that we should not allow this fence because it's sections off a piece of the ground. We would need to, I think we would need to check as to whether it is it's tantamount to like leasing off a piece of land, which an agreement would have to be done because we're not allowed to do that because it's a piece of public land. So we would have to arrange a lease as we do with other facilities.
Such as the bowling club and the tennis club.
Yeah.
Yeah. Councillor West.
So I don't see what the difference between having got a temporary one up all the time or having a permanent one up all the time. Why you need to change the lease in that, especially once preschools finished or closed or shut for the way, it's opened up to the public again. So I don't see the need or why we need to do that.
Okay, the committee clerk has said that we would also need to do a fire risk assessment if any fence were to be installed. I would also like to refer it to our solicitor to look into any implications, because I know when we have considered this previously, we were told that it was similar to disposal of the land, because we are restricting access to it, and therefore it does require a legal agreement for that. So I would like to refer it to our solicitor so that we are not doing something that we shouldn't be doing. Councillor West?
I've no issue with referring to solicitor, but then we should refer that in, because that's doing exactly the same. It's happening. Well, they fence it off now, it would be a temporary during the day, so that's stopping anyone using it. A fire risk assessment should still be done on that then, because albeit temporal or permanent, it's still there. So if we're not insisting on that happening on a temporary structure, which effectively should do exactly what a permanent structure should do, I don't see why we would need to ask the question, but I don't see what the issue would be.
Councillor Brown?
The temporary fence is taken down every night and everything is cleared away. That's the difference between a temporary fence and a permanent fence. We don't allow permanent fences on parish council land. We've rejected them previously, and I think it would set a dangerous precedent.
I think the committee does need to consider the fact that we do have agreements with other preschools who also use temporary fencing, and if we allow one preschool to fence off land, we would have to allow we would have to be equitable to all, which would mean that part of KGV would be permanently fenced. That is something that the committee needs to consider. Councillor Andrioli?
Actually, that chair, it would actually be some fields in trust.
Indeed.
Which is in KGB, but it would be, it's not just in the KGB field, it's in the KGB trust land, which we would have trouble with permanently fencing off.
Can I propose that we pass this to the lease working party so that they can do all of the necessary investigations and come back to committee with a considered and a fully investigated proposal? Councillor Ranger?
Sorry, what's the lease working party?
It's a subcommittee. It's a working party of council, and they negotiate all of our leases. Yeah. Councillor Brown?
I would propose that we don't pass it, because I'm one of the members of the lease working party. I would, before we do that, I would like advice from our solicitor before we go any further with this.
The lease working party liaises with our solicitor for advice, so hence suggesting, because the committee clerk has reduced her hours, and I think this needs to be done sooner rather than later and go on a back burner. So I would hence proposing that it goes to the lease working party. Councillor West?
I would also suggest that we look on the positive side of things. If we're in an area that we fenced off, at weekends we could also hire that section out as a secure area for people's kids' parties and things like that, which you might get. You can fence them off and keep them safe in there. So there's an opportunity. Don't just be looking at the negative all the time.
Councillor Brown?
Sorry, just on that, we can't do that, because if you look at the concrete area that's out the back of the War Memorial Hall, that doesn't belong to the council. The red area marked is an area we rent to the day care, but we don't own the piece of concrete that's behind the War Memorial Hall.
Councillor Hall?
I haven't run preschool myself a long time ago. My concern is the safety of the children as well. So this is behind the memorial. If a child escapes from that fence, they can go straight out onto the main road, can't they? Whereas at the pavilion, there is no fencing around here, so it's a bit more difficult. So I feel that wherever this goes, that needs to be taken into consideration. The safety of the children is paramount.
Councillor Brown.
That is not something this council should consider, because that is a responsibility of the playgroup. It's not responsibility of this council.
The fencing that they use is secure fencing, otherwise the children would be able to get out and you wouldn't pass your Ofsted inspections. So the children are safe with the temporary fencing. They wouldn't use stuff that wasn't safe. Councillor Brown.
I will change what I said earlier. I will accept that it gets passed to the lease working party, and we will speak to the solicitor and try and move this forward.
Well, that was my proposal. If you're seconding that, we need to take a vote on that it's passed to the lease working party. Can I have a show of hands, all those that agree that it should be passed to the lease working party? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And against? So that's 5 to 2, so that passes. Thank you. So that will be passed to the lease working party. And then moving on to item 10.1, which is the land at Greatmead, to consider the installation by a resident of a fence on parish council land at Greatmead. We heard from the resident earlier. So we've heard from the resident earlier. Councillor Brown.
If the resident is happy and there's someone else that could meet me on site, I'd like to go and have a look at it and see if there's a sensible solution to this.
I'll second that.
Well, you can't second it. You have to.
Councillor Ranger.
Calendars depending, then I'm happy to go with Councillor Brown.
Thank you, that's appreciated.
Get more
Okay, so
time.
we have a proposer and a seconder that Councillor Brown and Councillor Ranger visit the lady, if you're agreeable to that, to find a suitable solution for this. Can I have a show of hands then, please? Thank you very much, that's unanimous. So we will now go back to matters arising and outstanding matters from previous minutes. If you'll just forgive me while I get my paperwork back in order.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does the clerk have your contact details? That's fine. Yeah, we'll arrange a few dates and then we'll come back to you. All right.
Thank you. So we note the matters arising and outstanding matters from previous minutes. Item 6 is the head groundsman's report. To receive status report from the head groundsman. So Sam says wood treatment, the notice boards, benches, signpost fences and playground apparatus have all been treated with Cuprinol wood preserver. I saw the signs around saying wet, which was all good, and they all look much, much better. Pathways, the greenway pathways, the vegetation has been trimmed back to the path edging.
Chair, no one comment that looks excellent.
It does, yeah.
The greenways paths.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to confess I've not been, because obviously we've been away, so I haven't
I
seen.
actually walked past the groundsman as they were doing it
Yeah.
near me a couple of weeks back, and it looked very, very good.
Excellent.
I feel the need to say so.
Good job, Sam. Thank you. Playground repairs at KGV Playing Park. The wood has been replaced and all the new wood has been treated. Burial ground, items that are not permitted as per our regulations have been removed, although that should be under the Highways and General Purposes Committee. Grass cutting in multiple sites. Grass cutting commenced at the beginning of the season on the 1st of this month. The Mill Road Playground, the Rotten Playhouse has been removed, and the Willow Dome at Heathfield has been removed as per the request of the playgroup. Councillor Brown?
Just a question about the grass cutting, because you and I were over while they were cutting grass the other day in the pavilion. The mowers that were out there, are they the biggest decks that we've got to cut? Okay. It's my thought that we should, it's not on the agenda, but that we should look into getting something that has a larger deck to be able to cut the grass easier, because we have large areas of grass that we cut.
Thank you, Councillor Brown, but as you say, it isn't on the agenda, and I can also say it's not in the budget for this year.
No.
Councillor Andrew Oakley.
Coming back to the Ashling Park play area, it looks a lot better, I must admit, and there's a fair bit of equipment now back working, apart from the swings. The small swings, is there, but we don't know what's happening regarding the larger sort of swings.
Well, the last I heard was that because you were swinging towards each other, it was a health and safety issue.
Yeah. I think we were going to have alternative ones at one time, but yeah, just, I'm not blaming
I
you.
don't know how far that's gone, but yeah, apparently because you were swinging towards each other, you can hit each other.
Councillor Brown.
I presume this is a piece of equipment that's been designed by a play equipment manufacturer. There cannot be a health and safety issue with it because they couldn't put it on the market.
So thank you very much for your report, Sam. Item 7 is Ashling Park, Ashling Pavilion. 7.1, the key to the goalpost store. To consider a request from Denmead Football Club for a key to the goalpost store. Councillor Brown.
Why? We employ a member of staff to go out and put the goalposts out, ready for football matches, at which they, at that point, they also do a pitch inspection.
Councillor West.
So if there've been times when they've turned up and told those haven't been put out. Yeah.
Councillor Andrioli.
On occasions in the past, I have actually done the warden's job when we didn't have one available at the warden. Park caretaker's job. And the usual thing was to go down, open the store up, and the football teams took out and put back the posts before and after their matches.
Bodine, yeah. All that key is the key to all the other doors as well. If you give them a key to that, you give them a key to all the other doors. So we would have to change the lock specifically for that, which. Councillor West.
We're not required to done.
I second that.
Can I have a show of hands then, please? That's unanimous, thank you. Item 7.2, the bowling club lease. To note the response received from the council solicitors.
We need to arrange a meeting with them.
Indeed. So we note. Thank you. Item 8 is Harvest Field, maintenance of the Willow Dome. To consider the maintenance of the Willow Dome at Harvest Field as only 2 potential volunteers have come forward. Excuse me, to consider and determine action. So we have, that's 8.2. So we've got 2 potential volunteers.
How many do you need?
Previously, it was done by a team of about 9 people, and it took them 2 weeks.
Sorry. Sorry, I'm just taking it back from the last statement. Social media, ask the public.
That's what we've done.
And then you've got 2. Accept their 2. Just get them and get on with it.
Councillor Brown?
I'm quite happy for 2 people to do it, but it's not feasible for 2 people to do it. It would take. It grows so rapidly, doesn't it? I mean, when they flailed it, it probably had 6 foot of new growth up the top of it, Sam, and that's only since it was woven in
Previous
the
year.
season before.
Councillor West and then Councillor Ranger.
Well, it's not our decision whether 2 people suit or not, because we don't know how long they can spend on it, and we'll spend 10 hours a day on it. So I think if we've got volunteers, let them try it. If it doesn't work, and then it gets removed.
Councillor Ranger.
And the alternative, if you don't accept the 2, is what? It just overgrows and looks unsightly and ugly. I'd rather take 2 that are willing to put something into it and let them proceed and progress accordingly, whether it's 1 hour or 10 hours, just let the two work it, and then it will come back if they need more support and help. So
Can I add an amendment to that proposal, that we accept the two volunteers, that we, in addition, ask Sam to keep an eye on it because it grows so quickly and it's used as, in effect, a play facility, it can become dangerous with bits sticking out all over the place at eye height. So Sam normally keeps an eye on it for health and safety purposes. Councillor Brown.
Whilst I'm not against the two people, the other thing is the group that did it before tended to take away a lot of the cuttings off of the willow dam, which is then also something we need to keep an eye on, because you have to cut it and weave some in. You can't weave it all in. So we just need to keep an eye on the fact that it's put in an appropriate place and we deal with it.
Councillor West.
I imagine every bush and small tree we've got in the village will have some sort of branch that comes out of their ivy centre to go around and check every one of them. So I don't see the need to do. I think you just need to look at it once a month and say, is it being paid back or no, we're going to lose it. Otherwise you're going around saying this one needs to do this one needs to do. You know, I walk through the greenways now and I dust and die that way, some brown bushes over there.
It's just a matter of keeping an eye on it, that's all. Are we all agreed that we ask the two volunteers to work their magic? Show of hands, please. That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 8.2, amphibian survey. To consider a request to carry out an amphibian survey at the wetlands in Harvest Field. To consider and determine action. Councillor Andrioli.
We've done it before. We do really need to know.
So the previous survey was done by the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Amphibians and Reptile Group.
Okay, let me rephrase it then. We have let a group do it before, and I think we should carry on monitoring that for the amphibians.
So the person requesting to carry out the survey is a commercial company, and they're requesting access to carry out the survey in connection with a proposed planning application. Previously, when we allowed people access, they did it in conjunction with our ecologist, who we had at the time. We no longer have an ecologist, and the company were reticent about sharing the information with us, and that they will only share it with us if the person paying them to do the survey gives them permission to do so. Otherwise, they will not share it with us. Councillor Brown. Councillor Ranger, with your hand up.
Councillor Ranger was first. I'd like more information as to what the planning application is about. There is nowhere around that pond that a large developer would be interested in, because there isn't any land.
It's within a 200-metre radius. So potentially there is. Councillor Ranger.
I propose that we allow the amphibian commercial survey company, whatever, to do what they need to do, because if it does come to a planning application, we'll only push it back and ask for, have they considered A, B and C, including amphibian survey anyway, would we not?
We don't have the right to do that.
Okay, but they're going the extra dollar in terms of reviewing the area that they need to consider. So it feels to me a little bit wrong to prohibit them from doing it. If they've done a similar one before, whether it be commercial or not, doesn't matter, in my opinion.
Councillor Brown.
I will go with that proposal on the proviso that they share the information with us.
If it comes to council.
They haven't said they haven't. Sorry, they haven't said they haven't. They said we're happy to share our results with you, but this will be only after issuing the information to the client.
If their client agrees it was.
It doesn't say that.
That's what Francis said.
It doesn't say that. So we hold them to that. We should do the client. We want that information. That's what they told us.
Councillor Brown?
I would go the other way, is that that they issue it to us regardless of when they issue it to their client.
I don't think we can demand that because we're not paying the bill.
But then,
Excuse me. Councillor West?
I would agree, but I think the caveat is that when we say to them, yes, that is, they stick to that. They're happy to share the result once they've given it to the client. But not if the client agrees or when the client agrees. It's to give it to the client and we receive it after.
And I would add a caveat that they have to use a professionally qualified ecology company to undertake the survey. Okay, so that's the proposal and it's been seconded. Can I have a show of hands then, please? That's unanimous, thank you. Excuse me. We have dealt with item 9.9 and 9.1 and item 10, so we move on to 10.2.
Yeah.
Sorry, what have I missed?
10.
We've dealt with item 10.
Oh, that's yes, sorry, that's one I'm saying.
So, I wasn't in the, I was trying to, I failed to get any photocopies to turn on outside, but at the time you did went through the declarations of interest.
I did.
I'm declaring a P on 10.2.
Sorry, you're declaring a...
BNP on 10.2, on the grounds you were discussing it, the possible changes to a license to cultivate, and my wife has a license to cultivate.
It's not
It's specific to this.
This is specifically for the land behind Brookside Close.
I still declare a PNP. If you're going to make any changes to a thing, it should be permitted. That could affect my life. So I'm leaving.
Okay, so going through that, conditions of the licence. No hole should be dug to a greater depth than 2 feet in connection with the planting of trees and shrubs. Is there a plan that identifies any or all of the services that run through the site? I thought we'd provided that already.
And the electric. Yeah. But we need to know the difference between where the electric is and where the defence is also ditch. So if all those really have grown, because obviously that's something. But if they're staying within the 1 metre of the lining apparatus which we're giving them, then they should be clear of that in here.
So we don't have a plan that identifies any other services other than that we've given them already.
No.
Okay.
Do you want one?
If you have access to one, it may be helpful.
I can get someone to do a search on the area there.
Thank you. So Councillor West will provide. No tree or shrub or plant which is of a poisonous nature shall be planted. No tree, shrub or plant shall exceed 0.6 metres in height. It's our intention to go typical garden vegetables such as beans. These are plants which will all grow vertically and typically exceed 2 feet. Sorry, Councillor Ranger.
Did you say exceed? I don't know the genders. Did you say exceed or not exceed? Sorry.
No tree, shrub or plant shall exceed 0.6 metres
And then the next bit. Sorry.
in height, except where this condition is specifically relaxed in writing by the council.
I wouldn't need a response. Just one response.
So it says that they intend to grow garden vegetables such as beans, which will exceed 2 feet. They would support their growing with suitable growing supports to benefit harvests. They'd also like to grow fruit using other linear growing methods or plant smaller varieties of tree. Again, these will exceed 2 feet. I thought we had a conversation that everything had to be in raised beds.
We did. Sorry. We did, yes.
So, Councillor Brown.
I didn't think we said hey, everything had to be in raised beds, but if they put that, I think they said about raised beds, and if they were putting raised beds in, then they either had there was a potential that they would have to be moved if SSE or whoever.
Well, anything
Yeah.
could have to be moved, but we don't allow. Excuse me, we don't allow people to plant trees when it's a licence to cultivate, because that's a very much more permanent, larger, again, except where specifically relaxed in writing. Councillor Hall.
Could we relax it in that we don't want to plant trees, but to have beans or something, vegetables or fruits is a different thing, isn't it?
So I think the licence is correct in that it says if you want to do something, you need it in writing from the council. If it's outside of these rules. So, if they want to plant beans, then they say, we want to plant beans. We reply to say, yes, you can plant beans, and that's fine. That's according to the licence. All trees, shrubs and plants to which the licence relates should be properly cut, pruned and trimmed at all times, and no such tree, shrub or plant should be allowed to obstruct or interfere or in any way become a source of danger along the carriageway or footway or highway or overhang the premises of any other person. Again, sorry, Councillor West.
Just going back on the note from the last paragraph, they're saying about the poisonous fruits and plants, and they're saying apparently rhubarb and foxgloves are poisonous, which rhubarb and
Rhubarb raw is.
But foxgloves are widely grown, and they're considered some of the bigger and creatures, and that's why they're asking, can that be relaxed? I personally like rhubarb, I'm not an issue with that.
Yeah.
Not sure what foxglove tastes like.
Well, then you can't eat foxgloves. Councillor Brown, did you have your hand up?
I think they're taking the licence to its extremes in what they're interpreting into it.
Indeed.
I can't see us having a problem from putting bean cans up, but they grow beans up, but then get taken down at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what this licence is about.
So there's.
Not falling foul
We're saying that it should be properly cut, pruned and trimmed at all times, and they're saying that they understand the sentiment. However, as they're within a specific boundary and locked, we do not see that we will pose a danger or overhang. With this being said, we do not want to accept responsibility for the established trees that are already within the site, nor the financial implications with their future maintenance. We understand they will need to be managed, so we'd appreciate a conversation on how this works for both parties. I don't see a problem with that. Sam, perfectly happy to have a conversation. The licensee should keep part of the land to which this licence relates in a trim and tidy condition. Excuse me. And all grass planted or maintained in pursuance of the licence should be regularly cut or mown. Currently, the land is not well kept. Our intention is to improve the overall space to benefit the community. The area to the north boundary, adjacent to 46 home metres, is especially overgrown. The fence has collapsed, and it appears that others are using this area to dispose of garden waste. If it appears to the council at any time that any tree, shrub or plant is likely to obstruct or interfere or be a source of danger, the council may, without notice, lop, prune, cut or trim such a tree, cut or mow such grass as they think fit. They're saying, whilst we understand it's not always possible, we would appreciate advance notice if the council intends to lop, cut, trim, prune, mow. I can't imagine that we would have our ground staff go in and sort out a perceived problem without having a conversation with them first. Should the council grant a franchise to a cable TV or telecommunications company? We understand it's not always possible, but they would appreciate advance warning. I would say that's a given. The licensee shall indemnify council against any claim in respect of injury, damage or loss. Greening Denmead holds public liability insurance which covers the activity of gardening without power tools where they have permission to do so, so that's okay. The land to which this licence relates should not be used for parking or storing vehicles, boats, caravans, and no buildings shall be erected or constructed. They have no intention to store vehicles, boats, caravans. However, they do require a storage area, ideally a shed with a 30-degree pitch roof to collect rainwater. Please can they ask for a relaxation? Again, I would suggest that that can be done in writing. Not to do anything on the land which may attract rodents or other vermin or pests. They haven't had the opportunity to fully inspect the site. It may be there are already vermin or pests in residence. They are aware of existing badger sets and fox sets in close proximity, and there is also a clear path through the licensed land which appears to be an animal track. I think we're kind of saying don't, put food waste and stuff like that there for that. So I think that's probably okay. Excuse me. Further to paragraph 1, but without limiting the provisions, not to carry out any works or cultivation or construct any raised beds or other structure within 2 metres of the eastern boundary of the land to which this licence relates, which is because of the power cable. We understand this is due to the covenant on the land where the electricity cable is and access is required. As the plot is approximately 6 metres wide, it seems a shame to lose a third of its potential. Would the council consider shallow rooting plants such as carrots, onions and garlic using a no-dig approach if we accept the possibility that all planting could be lost if access to the electricity cable is required? I thought we had discussed that 2 metre strip was going to be the pathway and would be kept clear, just so that there is no opportunity for any potential damage. Thoughts? Councillor Ranger.
It does appear and read that extending the original request and or ask that the organisation had, or the applicant had, it just feels like they're pushing all the boundaries in all the possible ways and covering lots of the issues in the comments that you just read, Chair. So go back to the original, which was keep the path clear, no raised beds, don't store this, that and the other, and don't have poisonous plants.
So basically, the licence to cultivate is the licence to cultivate, and where we've said that the strip, the 2 metres of the eastern boundary to which the licence relates, is not to carry out any works or cultivation or construct any raised beds or any other structure, which was what we agreed last time, and that's why that has been put in. So are we proposing that the licence remains as per put before us previously? Councillor Brown.
There has been mention by them and by Sam there is potential of badgers. And if there are, we need to check whether there are badgers in there before anyone does anything. Because if there's a badger set in there, we can't do anything. We can't.
There is not a badger set in there.
No, it's further up, isn't it?
Badgers are protected, and therefore we would not allow anything adjacent to a badger set. Badgers may well use the area as part of their foraging, etc. Councillor Brown.
I'm with the other Councillor Ranger that this is our licence and they work to our terms.
And any variation would be agreed in writing? Before, in advance, absolutely.
Considered.
Indeed. Considered so any variation to the licence is the licence. Any variation needs to be put in writing to come to council for consideration. Seconded by Councillor Ranger. Thank you. Show of hands, please. That's unanimous. Thank you. Somebody like to? 10.3 cultivation plots. To note that all plot holders have renewed. Councillor Andrioli, did you wish to declare P&P for this one?
No.
To note that all plot holders have renewed their cultivation plot agreements for the year 25-26, and we note that. Thank you. Item 11. Excuse me. Trees on land behind Brookside Close. To consider a quote received from the Parish Council's preferred supplier to prune the 3 willows back to their previous pruning points. So this is the work on land to the rear of the bungalows on Ashling Park Road. All arisings are to be chipped and removed, leaving the site clean and tidy. And the quote is £660, including 20% VAT. Councillor Brown.
Where are these? This is not the bungalows of this piece of land. That's something we've just been talking about. Okay. And what's the necessity to cut the trees down?
The woman in the bungalow, they are out of control now. It's just shoots that just go. I spoke to Dave and he said he thinks he done them 5 years ago. And you can actually see where they're pruned down to.
So they are due.
Yeah, overdue.
Councillor Brown.
I'm just wondering if they actually have any value.
Willows don't generally.
Well, if we spent money 5 years ago and now we're going to spend another £660, is it the thought that we should do away with them? I know I'm normally against taking trees out, but it's in an area we are just about to have a licence to cultivate on.
All trees support habitat.
They do, but they also, willows will cause potential issues with water, that they suck so much water. Is there any...
Can we ask Sam's view? Sam, do you believe these trees need to be removed?
I don't think they need to be removed. I think just trim them back to where they were, and then I was just wondered if they can have plants or veg in there, some prefer shade. I thought they could use it as a shading system in there, so otherwise it's going to be quite barren.
Councillor Brown.
I know it's in the quote, but I suppose willow you can't leave there, can you? You can't use it as a mulch.
Can I propose that we accept the quote for the works to be done to the willow trees to be pruned to their previous points? Councillor Ranger. Seconded. Thank you. Can I have a show of hands then, please? That's unanimous. Thank you. Excuse me. 11.2 is trees on Forest Road. To consider a request by a resident that trees on Forest Road overhanging their garden be cut back. Sam, whereabouts on Forest Road is this?
This is in the picture.
Says photo of Forest Road to the rear of two pastures.
It's the Liberty. It says it on the side.
Yes, it does.
That's that one. Not the pastures one, not that one.
So you go into the pastures and then the Liberty's on the left, isn't it? So the house is actually in the pastures, but if you stand on the corner of the Liberty, you can see the trees. That's the picture we've got.
No, that's the pasture, that's the pastures. It's just that picture that she sent makes a different angle. She's looking from her garden, so that's the pastures one of the people that came in.
Oh, so we haven't got a picture then.
No.
Okay. Right, so we don't have a picture of that one. Councillor Brown.
So
Where's that one? But there, you're looking from. I took it from this angle. So actually, when you look at that one, you can see that that's a bit of a deceiving picture. Where's the other one? That one's in there.
Apparently these are trees on Forest Road, but we don't know where on Forest Road. Forest Road's 2 miles long. Councillor Ranger?
Can I suggest that we get some more information and bring it back?
Yeah, I mean that's labelled as 11.2, so when I got my paperwork I thought that was what this was referring to. So we'll defer that one to the next agenda for more information. 11.3, trees on Southwark Road, to consider the amended quote for pruning the trees along Southwark Road. So this is the one that is to trim the trees individually to various heights. Did we dealt with? We didn't deal with this one. This is the trees on Southwark Road. So this is the one on Lowland Road. So this is the looking down the line of trees where Tree Works said they would just chop them off. Councillor West.
Is there only 5 trees to do? Am I reading that right? It says quantity 5, unit price 900 and that 4,500.
it's a lot of money.
Sorry?
There's a lot of money.
5 trees. Yeah. And potentially we could be taking some of them out as well.
We have dealt with 11.3 already.
No,
Yes. Oh no, this is trees on Forest Road, it's 11.2, isn't it? No,
We did get.
it's 11. We've done 11.3.
So we didn't vote on the.
We didn't quote.
Yes, that Sam and I meet on site and agree the height with the tree surgeon. That's what we
I
agreed.
think Dave's already re-quoted for just adjusting the height of the tree.
So I thought it was you and Sam meet on site to agree the height of the trees if we agree the quote.
That's right. Yeah.
We haven't agreed the quote
We
yet.
haven't
Okay.
agreed the
Yeah.
quote.
So the quote.
That was 11.4 to agree the height. 11.4.
11.4 as well as 11.
They're joined
3.
together, aren't they?
It was 11.3 and 11.4 where we said we would meet on site if we agreed the quote, and the quote is £6,420. Councillor Hall.
Do you only deal with tree work contractors for this work?
So they're our preferred tree surgeon because we used to get 3 quotes for everything, and they came in with better prices, and we agreed that they would be our preferred supplier and they would do us a better deal each time.
Okay. Just that in my day job, I deal a lot with this, and this seems like an awful lot of money for 5 trees.
That's not right. No.
They
There's
are-
been confusion. When from the last meeting, when it said, "Oh, we're worried about the trees being cut too low," I asked Dave to re-quote again for the trees to be adjusted into a sensible height, and that was the new quote that he's put in. So that's for the whole of that Lowland Road again. So that's about.
Because here it says 5 trees. 6.5 grand for 5 trees.
So the quote that I've got doesn't have a number of trees on it.
It does at the bottom in the hourly rate, effectively.
Not
It says-
on my one, it
Well,
doesn't.
it does in the line there. Yeah, quantity 5.
Unit
Right,
price
yeah.
£900 a tree.
Councillor Brown.
They've just quoted us to do 3 willow trees to cut back to pruning plants for 660 quid.
These trees are enormous. They are absolutely huge. Councillor Ranger.
I mean, having trees recently done in our property, 900 a tree, depending on I know the size of these trees, it's quite okay, especially they're probably getting the cordon off and traffic lights and stuff on the road as well. So I don't have a problem with the price. if that's the, if we only choose to have one source of quote, that's the council's decision, I guess. And if we're living in agreeing by that, then to me that's reasonable.
Councillor West.
I don't know, I read your question. If you only 5 trees, then that process will go off. If they're quoting that per tree, so we're going to agree £6,420 for 5 trees. Potentially,
I
we
agree
cover
with
the
that.
potential.
So are we happy to agree, provided it's
Not.
all of those trees along that stretch? So, Sam, can you clarify for me? Are we looking at, as you go into Lowland Road, it's the trees on the left-hand side where you have you've got the trees, then you've got the driveway, then you've got the houses.
Yeah, so as you go left, shared drive.
Yeah.
And it's all those trees to the bus stop.
Yeah.
As you go out and you turn right,
Yeah.
it's to the last house.
Yeah. Which?
Before you get to the footpath of the Greenway.
Yeah.
That whole run.
Councillor West.
So how many trees is that?
40.
40. Well, it's 900. So no, I'm not going to agree with that, because I don't know exact trees in the forest.
Councillor Ranger.
Can I suggest that we get accurate information presented back to the council then? Because whether it's 5 or whether it's the whole road or whether it's 900 or whether it's 6,000, we're arguing or discussing with different pieces of information. It's very difficult to make a decision. So we need clear, accurate information, whether it's 5 or a whole tree, 900 or 6,000, etc. So I would suggest that we don't do anything with this, push it back, get more information, bring it back.
Okay. Councillor Brown.
If what Sam is saying is that basically along Southwark Road, either side of Lowland Road, it's all of those trees for that £6,420, including that. If we get it clarified that that's what it is, for all of those trees to be done, we get it done, rather than having to come back. But we just need a clarification that it is for all of those trees to be cut and reshaped according to what trees they are.
Councillor West and then Councillor Andreoli.
Well, two things. Yes, I do agree with that. But I still think they're quoting 5 trees because they're quoting for a cherry picker for 5 times. It's almost like, why would you want the cherry picker 5 times if you needed 40 trees? If we've done it for 5 trees. So I think the whole of their quote is mismatched.
Unless it's 5 days. So it's 5 days worth of tree reduction and 5 days of cherry picker hire. We don't know. We simply don't know. Councillor Andreoli.
Well, we've already agreed that you and Sam will meet with us to discuss it, so we can clarify it then.
Okay, so are we saying that we don't want to agree the quote until we know further information after Sam and I have met them?
You can make it a proposal.
Councillor West.
So I was going to say, if that is the price to do all them trees, then I'm happy to go with it. But if it's just purely for the 5, then I think it definitely needs to come back to council.
Okay. Councillor Brown.
Which is what my proposal was, that we, if you meet there and it is all of those trees, we agree it, that we have that is the price that we're spending.
Yeah.
If it's not, and they say, oh no, that's only for 5 of them, then it has to come back.
So we'll get Sam to clarify on this quote whether it's for all of the trees and it's 5 days of work, and then if that is the case, we agree that this is the price and we go ahead, and on that basis Sam and I will meet with them on site as we previously agreed to discuss and agree the heights.
So I thought it was the other way around. But
Thank you. Okay, so can I have a show of hands then please? Thank you. Are you okay with that? Yeah.
So you have a nicer chair.
Excuse me. Item 12, play areas. 12.1, the inspection reports. To note that the independent
Have you not listed 11.5?
No, we've done that one.
Have we?
Yep. To note that the independent inspection reports have been received and the ground staff are working through the required repairs. We note that. Councillor Brown.
We have sectioned off a piece of the skate park. which didn't come up as a red.
Councillor Brown, that's not on the agenda this evening.
Well, it shouldn't have been to note the inspection report.
The issue came up after the agenda was issued. So we were not aware of that when the agenda was issued, or I would have asked for it to have been added.
Can I ask in future that we don't ever put an inspection as to note?
I'm sure our clerk will note that in the minutes. 12.2 KGV play area, the resistograph testing. To consider resistograph testing the swing, the toddler 1 bay 2 seat, the multi-play junior and the sand climber following the recent independent playground inspection. To consider and determine action. So the playground inspection states that these pieces are rotten and require replacing. Excuse me, but Russell Play will require resistograph testing before agreeing to replace the timbers under the guarantee. Hence, we have quote for resistograph testing. Councillor Brown.
Can I ask why we have to prove that they are, why they don't come and do resistograph testing on there? We have a report to say they are faulty. So I would say that they should come and test them, and we shouldn't have to pay for a test on a piece of equipment that's faulty.
Councillor Andreoli.
We have a precedent set because we've had about 4 lots of resistograph testing to prove to them that stuff was wrong. I think we have no choice but to go ahead with it. Otherwise, they're not going to agree that what's there is wrong.
Councillor West.
We should have recovered the money from them then, for the testing, if it proves positive or negative, whichever way you want to put it.
I don't know about recovering the cost.
But it's, again, it seems sort of line of work either, if a contractor goes out and does something, if I'm not happy with it, I can make them dig it up. It's right, I suffer the cost, if it's wrong, they suffer the cost. Which I think should be in this case.
Well, we can certainly ask committee clerk to ask if they would be willing to cover the cost of the resistograph testing.
But again, sorry, I'm not saying either way, I do agree with Councillor Andrew, we've done it, we should have done it, and do it anyhow. This is an afterthought trying to claw it back.
Okay, so Councillor Andreoli proposed, Councillor West seconded that we accept the quote of £895 for resistograph testing. Show of hands, please. And against? Thank you. That's one person against. Excuse me. Item 12.3, KGV path. To consider a quote from the Parish Council's preferred supplier for the resurfacing of the path through the KGV area. To consider and determine action. So, to resurface the playground pathway, to scrape, scarify and level the existing path with a digger, leaving it 50mm down from the edgings, remove any surplus stone and cart away to the tip using a lorry, supply and lay 50mm of golden path gravel. New gravel may be a different colour due to the area where it has been dug from, but it will still be a brown gold colour. Level and compact with a roller and whacker and leave the site clean and tidy, and the cost of that is £4,824. Councillor West.
Sorry.
Was Councillor Brown first?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was reading, I didn't see.
Can I ask how long this path is? Because we have no idea how big that is, as to whether that quote is any good or not.
That's exactly my thing is we need measurements on it, because if they come back and it's at 50 square metres and they suddenly say now from 51 square metres, they can add anything to it. So we need that so we can revert it back to square metres, right? Or linear metres, whichever one.
So you require the meterage.
That could be a metre long path, for all we know.
Well, it's not, because it's the path through the KGV play area.
We need to measure. We need length by width. We know what the depth is. It's having that. That gives
Okay.
you square metres, and we can figure. Let's say it's 100 square metres. It's £40.
Okay, so we have a proposal that we need measurements of the path so we can consider whether or not this is a an appropriate cost.
Just before we do go, I don't want to make another proposal, it just goes back to my point again that this has been issued out without a correct scope, or without a scope saying what we want. It's just, I want a footpath there, what do you want me to do? Or what can you do for me? We should, as I insisted before, we should always give them the scope of work, tell them exactly what we want, so we know what we're getting, and we know what we're paying for.
Okay, do I have a seconder that we require measurements of the path?
Yes,
Show of hands then, please. It's unanimous. Thank you. Excuse me. Item 13 on the agenda, incidents. To receive reports of incidents at amenities managed facilities to consider and determine action. So we have a report on the 8th of the 4th, 25, around 7 p.m. Young kids in the Hatchmore Road play park were throwing large rocks at play equipment. A member of the ground staff team has inspected the play area and there has been no damage to any of the equipment. Councillor Brown.
Do we know if this has been reported to the police? It was 101, yeah. Can we have that put on
the report?
The incident report used to be a form that came out saying what the incident was, rather than just a note, because everyone would have asked that question.
Okay, so incidents to be reported on the form which has a tick box, have the police been informed? Okay, all agreed?
Basically, the incident report form.
Okay, thank you. Item 14, social media, to consider what content should be added to the council's social media. Anyone have any suggestions? Councillor West.
We'll be surfing in the path so people know there's going to be disruption.
Yeah.
What was that, sorry?
Resurfacing of the path, so that people know there will be disruption when that's going to happen. Councillor Ranger.
And also if we're on the trees on Southwark Road.
Yeah.
Or in the other highway.
Okay, and I would also suggest that we do something on there about the fact that the parts of the skate park are cordoned off currently whilst awaiting repair. All agreed? Thank you. Item 15, matters for the next agenda. Councillors are asked to inform the committee clerk of any items they would like to be added to the next agenda, and I will see you all at the next Amenities Committee meeting on the 28th of May. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yes.